Are you ready to transform your normal e-commerce business into one that experiences exponential growth year after year using online advertising? If so, this show is for you. Me and my guests will show you how you too can grow your e-commerce business to 7 or even 8 figures so you can go on more luxurious vacations, spoil yourself and your family, say yes to more opportunities, and become financially free so you never have to worry about money again. Welcome to the E-commerce Performance Marketing Show. Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Ecom Performance Marketing Show. I've got an incredible guest for you. I'm bringing the heat today. I've got Matt Clark here, and Matt Clark's built 3 multi-million-dollar companies by the age of 25. And since 2009, he sold over 200 million online. So he brings a wealth of experience to today's episode. He's been doing and teaching e-commerce for 8 years. And since then, his students from 138 countries have generated over 9 billion in sales, primarily on Amazon. He's been featured in Forbes, Success Magazine, Entrepreneur, and also the Business Insider. I'm really excited to interview Matt today. We're going to deliver a ton of value. So Matt, welcome to the Ecom Performance Marketing Show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. This is a great opportunity. I'd love just to start off by just telling your origin story. Like, how did you get into this at the beginning of your journey?
Sure. I had 2 parents that were entrepreneurs, like both attorneys with law practice and stuff at one time. So I think it was that was the life that I saw. So working a big corporate job was never really in the cards for me. But then I went to college and I got 2 degrees in finance and entrepreneurship. And like a lot of the guys running the entrepreneurship program then were like, yeah, you should go work for a big company for 3 to 5 years and then go start your own thing. So I was like, okay, cool. That's what I'll do. I like finance. So I'm gonna go work at an investment bank. And this was right at 2008. And so not a good time to be in investment banking. So I went and got my job there. The whole world's crumbling. The company's stock goes down to $1. I'm just watching this chaos. But what really stuck out to me was not just like that the industry was getting hammered, but the people I was surrounded with. It was just like, I was around so many super smart people from Harvard, neurobiology degrees, all kinds of crazy stuff. But they were just never going to leave. They were never going to leave this corporate job. And so I was just like dying inside. And so after about 7 months, I quit. Actually didn't get fired despite the company was like just getting killed. And so I quit and I was like, I need to do something on my own. And so then I ended up kind of finding my way into e-commerce. And the way that happened was I went to Austin. I was in Houston at the time. I went to Austin to help my dad kind of grow his business. And I found out there was because it was a medical business, I found out there were some health supplements that were like sitting on his shelves and stuff, but nobody was selling them online yet. And I was like, because they were just running around from doctor's office to doctor's office, sort of pitching these products. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll try to sell these things online. No clue what I was doing. And then just started taking every course and going to every Google AdWords seminar and was able to ramp that business up pretty quick to about, a couple $1 million a year in revenue, but there was no profit because I didn't know how to track anything. I ended up from nothing to like 11,000 products in the store. And it was just like complete chaos. And that was when I, had basically $100,000 on my Amex at like 23 years old that I had no idea how it was going to pay off. And I was just like, oh crap, what am I going to do? And so that's when I started seeing the other side of marketing, like the email marketing, conversion rate optimization, like all the stuff that's not just like based on spending money. And that's when everything kind of changed for me. So that happened. Then I discovered Amazon and found a lot of early success there. And then kind of fast forwarding, started teaching people how to do all that kind of stuff. And then I've really created a cool business doing that stuff. And then, I guess part of what we're going to be talking about today is the kind of newer e-commerce business that I own. Because I took a step back of doing the actual e-commerce because the other business, Amazing, was exploding so much that I didn't have time. But then I finally sort of got things under control there and then was able to jump back into e-commerce. And we've had a lot of success recently with this new brand.
Nice. 2 questions come to mind here. First question is that, with your background too, coming from entrepreneurs, versus someone that doesn't have that background, doesn't have, that type of parental influence. What do you feel like are some of the traits that you inherited versus someone like that really helped you in your success?
Yeah, I think a big one is just not seeking comfort so much. I feel like a lot of people, like some of those, it was mainly guys who was in investment banking, but guys and girls that were at that job, they're very, very smart. They had all the, because some people you talk with business and they just don't quite get it. They don't have the experience or interest or whatever it is. Like these people got it, but they were just so secure that they never wanted to leave because they didn't know what other people would think about them. I mean, because when I first left, like I was making less money, trying to run my own business, take this thing off the ground. than what the people were making in my previous job. And then I knew they were getting close to getting bumped up to associates, which is like $100,000 a year job, like 2 years out of college, which is a pretty good deal. Most people are not willing to sort of make that sacrifice. They're so caught up in the comfort aspect of having a job to depend on, having an income to depend on. So that trait has been super important. The other thing that's also been a little bit different is, you know, I think at some point you've got to make entrepreneurship an identity for you. Like if it's just like a thing you're doing, or if it's just like an interesting hobby, or you're just kind of trying it out, if things get really tough, like there's a good chance you're going to quit. But if you're like, this is who I am, this is what I do, I may have to have a job to support and make it happen. But at the end of the day, like I am an entrepreneur, like there's no other option.
Yeah, you're committed. You're like all in.
I really got that into my head. I mean, there was no other option than to just keep going one direction and eventually making it work.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. And then you said that you had a little bit of a challenge in probably like bandwidth in applying your time towards your new ecom brand that you really wanted to focus on between, you know, your old business, which I'm sure you still have, right? And then this business as well. How did you figure that out? How did you figure out that transition so this way you could really double down and focus on this new ecom brand that you're about to dive into and talk about with us?
Yeah. So with it's amazing.com by the way is the other business, but with that business, like there's a whole nother story involved there. But basically we had a lot of early success. We took that success, didn't really know what we were doing, had a lot of even bigger success. And then basically mainly me almost killed that entire business, like doing some kind of stupid business stuff, like making decisions to kind of change everything overnight. And then basically had to bring it back to life. And so once that happened, then I finally felt like I had some breathing room. But I think the main thing was that I felt like Amazing was producing consistent enough results that I could take time away. And we'd also built a really good team, a team that was, you know, really managing a lot of aspects of the business. And one of the things that I never considered myself like a great manager, I kind of just do it because I have to do it. But is if a lot of the sort of advice in entrepreneurship is like, you know, hire people that'll take care of all the low level stuff you don't want to do, customer service and, you know, executive assistant kind of stuff. I think you should consider like the opposite. It's like where your time really gets freed up is when you can hire people who take care of the stuff that you think you're the best at. Because no matter how good you are at something, there's somebody else out there who's better than you or as good as you. It doesn't matter what it is. I used to think I was world's greatest copywriter and stuff. And everyone told me, oh, Matt, you're such a good copywriter, kind of fed my ego and stuff. But I could hire people to do like development and design and customer service all day long. But I was spending like this much of my time there. But as soon as I hired somebody to be like a high level copywriter, all of a sudden that freed up like 5 hours a day for me. I think that's,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that view on that, you know, because most people, you're right. They take the opposite view where they want to replace the lower level tasks that are worth less per hour versus the higher level task.
Yeah.
But the higher level tasks, those are the ones that we're so attached to. Those are the ones we don't want to let go. And the thing is, when we let those go, you know, that frees up our time to really, really make big impacts on the business instead of working in the business.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, like, it's a big growth thing because a lot of people think like, oh, I'm doing this one big thing, I can focus more on this. But I think in the back of their head, there's kind of like, what the hell am I going to do if somebody else does this? It's like, then you have to like grow as a CEO and an entrepreneur, because then you got to think on how do you manage these people and grow your team and work on strategy and all the stuff that nobody's doing yet in your business. I think it's super important.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I'm excited to find out about your current ecom brand that you've been crushing it with. Can you share with us, you know, what that brand is, what you sell, and how it came about as well?
Yeah. So the brand is called Life Boost Coffee. And so when I finally sort of got everything situated with Amazing, I was like, okay, it's been a couple years. And, you know, like, I don't like to be in that position where people are like, oh, look at this like guru. He's just like teaching this stuff and like doesn't even sell on Amazon anymore, or probably can't, and all that kind of crap. And so I was like, well, you know, sort of in the back of my head, I'm like, I've been selling how to sell stuff online for so long. It was a couple of years at that point that I was like, do I still know how to do like e-commerce stuff myself? And so then I had a friend who had this business kind of sitting there. Like, it wasn't really putting a lot of focus on there. It was only doing like 15, 16 grand a month in sales, but it was like, I really love the product. It's a great, healthy coffee product. I drink it pretty much every single day, even take it with us on vacations and stuff. Like, I really love the product. And then, so I saw that. And then I also saw that people just kept rebuying this thing. Like, they kept buying and buying and buying. Even when it wasn't doing a ton of revenue, it was extremely consistent. And I was like, I really think you have something here. And then also just the stats in the coffee market. It's like, I think I just looked it up today, something like 65% of all adults drink it. So it's a big mass market kind of product. And so I partnered with him. I was like, hey, you got this business sitting there. I was like, I think we can really scale it because we kind of have complementary skill sets. I'm really good at like the front end customer acquisition piece, and he's great at the customer service and back end sort of sales and email marketing. So it's kind of like I bring him in, he takes care of him afterwards. And so I was like, look, I'll help you scale this thing. If we can get it to this certain point, then I get this percentage of ownership. If we can get it to this point, I get an even bigger share of ownership. So I didn't put money in or any of that kind of thing. It was just purely based on, can I actually get this thing to grow? And so that was at the beginning of last year, 2019. And then, yeah, we basically blew through those targets. So we were doing like 17 grand a month in January of last year. And by the end of last year, I think we were right about like $1 million a month in sales. And so now as we're recording this, it's like November of 2020. And so we're, I think like 19 months in or something like that. And so now we're doing like about 1.7 this month. We're on pace between like 1.7 and 1.8 million this month.
You guys are doing terrible, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Dang. Well, that's awesome. Like, but what did you do? Like, I mean, did you have like a big ad spend budget or credit lines to be able to really scale ad spend and customer acquisition? Like, what were some of the things that went into taking a business that was 17,000 in January and then scaling it up to, $1 million per month, by the end of last year?
Yeah. So the big thing, it almost all of the growth came through one sales funnel. And still to this day, it's like we get them all in through this sales funnel. And then we have a big subscription piece. I mean, subscription sales now are something like about 30% of total revenue per month. And so, but we still have the big customer acquisition piece, which basically funnels everything else. And so that was the first thing that we did that I sort of helped with was how do we get a really good sales funnel going? Literally just a long form sales page and then getting that to convert on basically cold traffic. And I've got enough experience with Facebook ads and everything. Like I probably personally managed like a few $1 million in Facebook ad spend. By no means like the world's greatest, but enough to get the thing going. And so, and I also had a friend who, kind of owns his own agency. And so he was kind of giving me some advice because he's got a lot more like e-commerce Facebook ads experience. And he was kind of giving me some tips and advice because I was like, look, if we can get this to a certain point, then we'll basically hire you to take this over. And so the combination of both of us kind of running the ads, but yeah, it really started dialing in the sales funnel. And the way that process kind of worked for us, which I think could work for anybody if they're willing to do the work, is like the first thing you got to figure out, I think with kind of cold sales funnel is like, what's that main hook or message that's going to get people to actually want to buy this thing? Because you've got a lot of guesses. And a lot of times, like your first guess is not going to be the right answer. So for us, it's like, okay, is it like the low acid angle or like stomach friendly angle or environmentally friendly angle? Or is it that we have like, my business partner is a chiropractor, so we can say like a doctor sort of supporting this thing. We have other testimonials from doctors. Is it that like there's some research that shows a lot of coffee is very toxic, and which is why you don't want to just drink like cheap, low quality coffee because it can be good for you, but if you drink cheap stuff, it can be bad for you. So is it like that angle? And so we basically threw a lot of these against the wall. And so we basically had one long form page, and then the top section, like the headline and then like lead in copy, that's all that changed based on each one of these angles. So we created like 5 or 6 different pages to test these different angles. And then basically once we got some results back from that, it's like, okay, which one is driving the best ad performance? We're like, okay, cool. We've got our general angle, which was for us kind of like the health kind of doctor angle. And then once we had that nailed down, it's like, okay, what's going to be the best converting headline that supports that angle? And so then we tested, maybe 10 different headlines. And then we just kept running through some iterative tests like that. And then the next like major thing that we tested was the offer. Because whenever you're buying traffic, through Facebook or any other source, it's like you want to get your average order value up as high as possible without there being like a huge negative conversion impact. And so for us, it's like, how do we get basically what you're looking at is kind of like maximum revenue per visitor or maximum profit per visitor is generally how all that shakes out. And so we tested a lot of different offers, like the typical supplement sort of offer, which is like 1, 3, and 6 units. We tested that. We also tested like 2, 4, 8. We tested different discount percentages. Typical thing you would think is like you do like a smaller discount on 1 unit, a bigger on 3, and a bigger on 6. So we tested that. We tested the straight same discount across all units. And it's not going to be the same for everybody, but what worked best for us was a 3 and 6. There is no option to buy 1. It just drove down the average order value too much. And so even though conversion rate went down a little bit, it was way better for us forcing him to buy a minimum of 3 bags. Yep. And what happens is some of those people end up saying like, screw you, I'm not buying 3 bags. And so they go to our site, but then they're paying full price. And so for us, it ended up being like, you have to buy 3 or you can buy 6, both of them 50% off our retail price. Right. And so that's what ended up working out best for us. And once we kind of nailed that piece, the main hook, the main headline, and the main offer, after that, we're pretty much off and running. Like we were spending 30, 40 grand a month on ads at that point. And that was at the point where this guy I know that owns an agency, like he was able to take over and scale it ever since then. Like I've never run any Facebook ads for us since that point, since I sort of handed it off to him. And that's what's really allowed us to scale a ton. Got
it. So you tested a lot of different hooks with your ads. And then you were probably judging the ads based off like click-through rate and results and some other KPIs. But then to get the ads to work with the actual sales page you were driving traffic to, and you were using a dedicated funnel, not your actual e-com site too.
No, like that's a big thing. This is my personal opinion, but it's like, I think it's real easy to get overwhelmed with like doing sales on your own website. Cause I've got a ton of Amazon experience, which is a little bit different, but on your sales on your own website, there's so many things you can change on your store. For us, we didn't care about that at all. It still doesn't look that good now. Like we're looking to sort of upgrade it and stuff now, but it's still not that great if you go to it. But we put all of our focus into this one page, pretty much this one page that, you know, kind of, I guess the one funnel, because it had to go from the page to the cart to the checkout. But we didn't do a ton of testing on like the cart or checkout. It was really just mainly on that page. But yeah, so we focused pretty much, 95% of our effort there, because I mean, it was only just 2 of us. It was really just me, my business partner. We kind of had this ad buyer, and then we've got somebody who handles customer service. Like that's basically the entire business, and still pretty much is. So we didn't have the luxury of, doing a million different things. I mean, that was like you earlier asked on like how did him having the time to do this sort of thing. And I think that's a super important point is for an entrepreneur, is to be able to really prioritize your time, because there's always going to be a million things for you to do. And you're not going to be able to do all of it. So you really have to prioritize. And for us, it was like, we didn't have time to make the most beautiful store and all this amazing, media for the store and all that kind of thing. And even the packaging, it was like literally just like, if we're going to put our time anywhere, it's going to be on this one sales funnel.
Nice. I love it. That's awesome. And then what'd you use to change the headline and the lead in based on the ad? Did you use like UTMs and VWO, or, how'd you do that?
Yeah, no, nothing that fancy. Like very early on, like because I used to use VWO back in the day a lot. And so that was kind of what I was familiar with. But, I think it's more of like an enterprise thing now. Like they don't have like the low pricing anymore, as far as I know. Anyways, I checked them out like a year ago. They changed
their pricing model. It's stupid. I mean, yeah. Because I used to love using VWO, but then they scaled up their pricing and, they just basically priced themselves out of like the small business market, it seems like.
Yeah. So we started off using Google Optimize. But then it was just easier for us to test things, and it may be a weird kind of testing system, but for us, it was easier to literally just create dedicated landing pages. And then every time we wanted to run a test, we would launch new ads on Facebook. So if we wanted to test 5 different landing pages, we would basically take and create 5 different ad sets with 1 ad each, and they would all be identical. And then each one of those ad sets would basically just be sending people to a different landing page. And so that's kind of how we ran our testing, because the audience was big enough and the budget was small enough that it wasn't like, burning out the audiences or anything. So we kind of almost have done our split testing since day one, even on landing pages, kind of through Facebook ads, because it was always cold traffic. And we would always do a new ad. So it didn't like, prioritize old stuff with having all the comments and likes and shares and stuff. So it would always be kind of a clean test from scratch. But that's basically how we've done our testing from the beginning.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good deal. Well, that sounds amazing, like what you guys have been able to do. And it also shows like how valuable it is to have a funnel and then use your website for retargeting, because a lot of e-commerce business owners don't really know how to leverage a funnel in their marketing mix to be able to get good results from front-end acquisition. And you're showing the audience that some of the stuff that I've talked about on the show is completely like valid, because of the fact that, when you have that funnel, you have a dedicated process, you can really optimize, you can focus people towards going through. So this way you can, really control that front end acquisition process.
Yeah. I mean, you only have so many hours in a day. So it's like, if you're sitting there trying to optimize, 52 pages on your store, it's going to be hard. But if you just have literally 1 page to deal with, you're going to need a heck of a lot less time, because this has never been a full-time thing for me. It's probably only like 10 to 20% of my time. And the other like 80 to 90% is on Amazing, because I'm the CEO of that business. And with Life Boost, I'm like, we're such a small company, we don't really have titles, but like I'm kind of unofficially like kind of like the CMO, if you will. Like my business partner is more like the CEO. And so it's only been a small focus of my time. So really had to kind of pick our battles. And so really only could optimize like one page at a time.
What was your ad spend strategy when you were initially testing, to a cold audience, the different hooks and driving people to your multiple product pages to see like what audience essentially and what hook would work best to build the business off of? Like, what was that at that point in time?
Yeah, so it's hard to think back, because this would have been, kind of like starting in February or so of 2019. I think initially, because there was enough customers in the store, like there was at least like, 1,000+ customers in the store. So I think from the very beginning, we've pretty much done lookalike audiences based on the customers. Like that's worked the best for us. Now the stuff he does, because, at some point when you're spending like $400,000 or $500,000 a month, like they just have to do crazy stuff. Like that's completely out of my wheelhouse. Cause that's the value of an agency at that point is like, they can do all that crazy scaling stuff. But at the beginning, I think it was just something as simple as like a 1% US lookalike of like the initial customers. And that was a good enough audience. It's a couple million people. And so that was fine. And I can't remember at the time if interest targeting was still available. Cause I kind of remember pulling lists of all these kind of food related sites and stuff.
Yeah. Well, interest targeting was back then for sure. It was, I think it was the year before when the Cambridge Analytica thing happened where they did, reduce some of the targeting that you had access to, but not by a whole lot. But what was your budget though? Like, how did you get those answers, quickly to be able to really focus on the right hook and the right audience?
Yeah. So, I think, pretty much almost no matter how much money you have, it's like kind of a waste of money to start with a massive budget, whenever you're running these ads, because it's like you can find the answers out very cheap. And so most of the campaigns and it's not like we had a million different campaigns running because it was really just me at the beginning. And so most of those campaigns would have a budget of like $20 to $40 a day. Okay. And then, per kind of test. And so maybe total will be a couple $100 a day or something. And so it was really just that small, because then after a few days, you kind of see how things are stacking up and it kind of starts scaling a little bit. But what happened to us early on is like we had a lot of tracking issues and couldn't really figure out what the hell was going on, because we were doing everything that seemed to be improving results. And then all of a sudden it's like the results were going the opposite direction. And it's like, that's why I don't recommend spending a ton of money at first. And there was multiple issues, but one of the main issues was just stupid. It was like we were using Zipify. My friend Ezra Firestone, we're using his like one-click upsell thing. Yeah. And I never checked, and we had the wrong Facebook pixel ID inside of his system. So it's like we were increasing sales, but conversions were going down. I was like, what the hell's going on? And so there was like stupid stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know, like to me, like with ads, it's like tracking is one of the hardest things. But one of the beauties of using like Shopify is based on any business I've ever done, it's got better tracking with Facebook than anything, because it's all, there's million plus other people that are using the same thing. So the tracking is a heck of a lot easier, but there still can be issues. But yeah, we started pretty small and then had a few different ad creatives. Like I think initially we had probably one per main angle or hook. And then we pretty quickly found one that was working pretty well. And then even today, I think recently we've probably moved on, but for a long time, probably a year, we used almost the same exact, we couldn't beat the ad headline and the body copy. And that's where it like did help a little bit that I'd done a bunch of copywriting, because I was maybe able to get us to a win faster, but eventually probably could have got there through a lot of testing. So we had a pretty good like headline and body copy. And then we just tested, tons of different images and videos. And so I can't even remember what our original ones, it wasn't anything like super creative or anything. Nowadays, it's just like, we're spending so much and we have to rotate them out so frequently. But it's like a lot of the random stuff that works for us is like what our ad guy found out is like little kind of like almost clickbaity kind of food videos, like literally a super close up, slow motion piece of like chocolate cake getting cut out of all things. Because I think it makes people start thinking of food and chocolate and stuff. And then they like read our copy, they click on our page and they somehow want to buy coffee after that. So there's those. And
it washes it down,
What's that?
It washes it down. It's good for dessert.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have just a lot of more typical like testimonial and discount focused ones that have worked pretty well.
Okay. Yeah. And it sounds like you're talking about like your retargeting strategy.
Literally front end also.
No. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Okay. That's awesome. Was retargeting then a big part of like what led to that initial traction and initial success, or was it just purely that front end advertising and the funnel just being dialed in?
Yeah, I think it was the front end, like really figuring out that piece is what really got us the traction we needed. Retargeting now has become a lot bigger of a factor because it's, we're able to accept a lower ROAS on acquisition because our retargeting is going to have a higher ROAS. And so we just look at like the blended amount and like it's kind of hitting our general target. And now our retargeting audiences are so big, people that have either like visited our page, watched our videos, added to cart, bought, all those kind of things. So now it's a bigger factor, but early on, like it didn't really matter. Like the retargeting audiences were so small that we really just had to figure out like the way to get some random person who's never heard of us before to click on our ad, go to our page, and literally want to pull out their credit card and give us money, which is like the typical direct marketing thing. But like that is the battle for this kind of marketing strategy anyways.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, spoken like a true marketer. Was there like any strategies or tactics that you feel like were super unique that you applied, over the last 18 months now or so? Well, actually now 24 months almost, that really helped the business be able to scale and grow the way it did?
Yeah, there's one big one that I feel like people don't use enough, but it's kind of related to what we've been talking about, which is maybe the harder aspect of it. But if you go Google right now, literally have to do it right now, but if you were to go Google right now, like best low acid coffee or best organic coffee, if you start clicking around on all those sites, you'll notice that we're number one on almost every single one of them. Okay. And we don't own any of those sites. They're all, turns out, and I've been doing marketing, I feel like for a long time now. And I still was a little naive when I would like Google like best whatever product. I thought there was somebody out there who just really liked this kind of product. They would create these sites because they loved, coffee or whatever. That's not it at all. It's just you're a random freaking marketer who knows how to do SEO. And they're just purely creating these sites to make money for almost any product out there. It makes you like trust the internet a little bit less. But anyways, it is what it is. And so I've never been a huge fan of SEO, but basically ended up contacting these sites because I knew our sales funnel and our commissions were so much higher than anybody else's. So we had to first kind of dial in our sales funnel, but then we also had to make the business decision of offering a super aggressive affiliate commission. And so your average coffee business out there will give you like 10%, 15%, or Amazon, you get like, I don't know what it is now. I think they reduced it, but it used to be 6%. Now it's even less. And most of those coffee products are cheaper than ours. So these people are making way less per sale. And we decided we would offer $30 per sale. Not recurring lifetime commissions, but on your upfront sale, we'll basically pay 5 times at least more money than anybody else. And so if you're somebody out there that has a coffee review site, you want to promote our thing because you're going to make way more money. But at first, nobody really knew about us and we didn't have any proof. So I went to these people and I was like, just randomly message them. Like, I have no idea who they are. And I was like, hey, I guarantee you we'll make more money. I'll even tell me how much you're making and stuff from like your top listing. And I'll basically guarantee you we'll double it. And I'll literally send you the money to put us at the #1 spot for the next month. And while we prove this out, then after that, you can decide to keep us there and make the commissions or go back to whatever you're doing before. And turns out they ended up making, 2 to 3 times more money than what they were making before. And we were just able to snowball that into all the other sites. We're saying, hey, your competitor over here has us #1 for a reason because we tripled their commissions on this page. So then now we're the #1 organic coffee on a lot of sites, #1 low acid coffee. We're working on decaf, all those different kind of things. And then I ended up going and I was like, how are people finding out about these coffee affiliate programs? So I Googled like best coffee affiliate program, did the same thing there. I contacted those people and I was like, hey, we'll pay you a 2nd tier commission. Like basically if an affiliate signs up through you, we'll pay you a % of all of their sales. And nobody else was doing that in this space. They were just creating these sites to, I guess, get a little bit of extra traffic, but now they're actually making money from these listings. So then now if you Google best coffee affiliate program, we are the #1 coffee affiliate program on a lot of these sites. So it's massive social proof. And like the way we kind of like leverage that for conversion is we took screenshots of being like the #1 coffee on all these different sites. And we put that on our landing page. So not only are we getting like extra traffic and leads and all that sort of stuff, we're also getting a little bit of a conversion boost.
Yeah. Smart. Yeah. Definitely a very smart strategy for sure. Did you like get your funnel really dialed in first with cold traffic before you decided to get affiliate traffic going into your funnel? Or pretty much best practice typically to do that first, then get affiliate traffic.
Yeah. I mean, with Amazing, like our biggest source of sales, because we sell basically like big programs on how to do e-commerce stuff, but our biggest source of sales from the beginning has been affiliates. And so I was kind of used to that whole game. And I think what people mess up the most in affiliates, even if you know the person, it's like maybe they'll promote your thing, but if you don't make them money, like it's not going to be good. And so it's like, I feel like you want to spend your own money dialing in your numbers first. And when the numbers are very consistent, then recruiting affiliates is very easy. As long as you're selling a good high quality product, which some affiliates don't even care. But as long as you're selling a good high quality product, ideally, and you treat the customers well, so like their reputation doesn't get hit when they send you a customer, all they really care about beyond that is how much money are they going to make, because it's an opportunity cost for them. It's like, are they going to make more money promoting their own thing, somebody else's thing, or your thing? And if you can basically make them more money than anybody else, it's like you can get affiliates all day long, which is kind of just a function of like, how well does your funnel actually convert, and how aggressive are you willing to be on your affiliate commission? Which for us, we're willing to basically lose money on the first month on every sale to get that sale, because we know we make up for it every month after that.
Yeah. I mean, it's typically, the case when it comes to having your marketing dialed in. If your front end acquisition is at break even or a little bit less, as long as you have your customer lifetime value measured properly, then you're going to make that money back. I'm also sure that in your business, and just being the entrepreneur that you are with your experience, that the other stuff you were doing to acquire customers was able to kind of balance out how you were paying affiliates more money up front to be able to get those customers, I assume, right? Yeah,
same thing on the ad side, because we knew we had some chunk of people that were just rebuying through emails, us sending emails, or just visiting our store or subscription. So we look at all of our numbers based on that traffic source, like how well are we doing on Facebook ads? How well are we doing on affiliates? And now we have a bunch of other ad sources. But what we really care about at the end of the day is like, what do the overall numbers look at? Like, are we comfortable with this sales growth? Are we comfortable with this bottom line profit? And so like you're saying, it's like some of them are sort of subsidizing some of the other ones, but it's like we're comfortable with how it looks over the long term.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Well, I want to be really, really respectful of your time, but this has been an amazing episode, and thank you again for being on the show. And I know the audience is getting a ton of value out of this. So we're going to transition into the last part of today's episode. This is kind of like more of a fun way to wrap up the episode and kind of put you on the spot and challenge you to answer these questions with only one word. So that's the challenge. I'm going to ask you a few questions. You just have to answer each of the questions with only one word.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right. What caused your biggest e-com success to date?
Funnels.
Nice. What advice do you have for other e-com business owners?
Persistence.
Awesome. How would you describe yourself?
Crazy.
Why do you say that? That's not one
more
word.
Than one word answer.
Yeah, no, this is just a pure, question. You can answer however you want.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have a lot of like contradictions going on, whether it's like business or personal. And like, I mean, you could ask my wife, she would definitely back this up. So yeah, I think it kind of all ends up working out, but yeah, there's a lot of contradictions. At one point I want to buy an island, and the next day I'm like not wanting to spend $3. And then, so it's a lot of contradictions going on.
Oh, when's your birthday?
My birthday?
Yeah.
July 28th.
Okay. There goes that theory. So now just, a Scorpio, I'm a Scorpio. I was born on Halloween, and Scorpio is like our one extreme to another.
Yeah.
So that's why I was wondering if maybe you were in the same, range there. But anyway, all right. Last question. So what do you see in your future? One word.
What do I see in my future? Impact.
Nice. How are you going to make an impact? That is not a one word question.
Yeah. I mean, I've sort of been on this journey since, when I was younger. Like, it's like something I don't get into a whole lot. I'm kind of like personal story, but it's like, I had two parents that were divorced and like some other issues when I was younger. But then I basically like very quickly, like literally as early as like third, fourth grade, like started like smoking and doing drugs. And then it just kind of escalated. And it's like at some point when I was like 14, 15 years old, I was like, if I keep going down this path, I'm either going to like be in jail or dead, or it's like I have to make a change. So I basically just like disappeared from those people. And then I knew I really wanted to be successful. And I sort of had these ambitions and this idea of success and like giving back and that kind of thing. But it's like, it wasn't really until I got into college and I read my first self-development book, like Success Principles by Jack Canfield, that I'm just like, I had an epiphany like every 2 pages. It's like a life, sort of like changing epiphany, because I was like, holy crap, like there's a way to actually do all this stuff that I've been wanting to do for all these years. And so it's like, ever since I discovered that and started implementing and using it to improve and change my life in a lot of different respects, not just financially, but that I'm able to have a big impact and sort of live like a life that I'm very happy with, that I wanted to give that back to other people, because I knew a lot of people growing up and everything that didn't have a lot of these influences. And so it's like, I consider that like a big part of what I do. Cause I mean, I've come long enough, fortunately, that I realize, making more money and having more success, it's nice. It's kind of a scoreboard, but it's not going to make me any more happy. And so what does make me more happy is sort of the decisions and what I do today. And a lot of that's related to what I do for other people. So yeah, I mean, It's like I'm still doing business and all that kind of good stuff, but I know that the biggest way for me to be most happy, which may sound kind of selfish, but is to make other people happy. And so that's a big part of sort of everything that I do.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. Yeah. No, I could definitely relate to that. I could relate to my own personal stories when I was younger as well. I mean, I wasn't smoking in third or fourth grade or anything like that, but I definitely had my share of like challenges, with the law, for example, when I was like a teenager. So I get it. So it makes sense, man. That's cool. So are you wanting to like help maybe teenagers, or is that what you're thinking? Or, what are you thinking in regards to impact that you want to really focus some energy and some time on?
Yeah. So I've kind of, gone back and forth. It's like, the whole, do I devote like a big chunk of my time to doing charity stuff right now? Or do I, make more money and give it away later, that kind of thing. But what I've kind of settled on for now, and it's not completely closed, if I come across something that's like really meaningful and impactful to me, like I'm more than happy to give back to that. But it's like, what I've tried to do is kind of integrate everything. So with a coffee business, like we give a share of our profits to basically to support the rainforest. So that's one piece. But there's also a big component to how we treat our customers. That's also, I think, because we literally have the ability to make somebody's day slightly better every single sort of customer message that we have. So that's a big piece of what we do. Also, an amazing. I mean, we've had people that have literally gone from broke to being, multimillionaires, these kind of crazy stories. And so we get to have that sort of impact every day. So what I'm trying to work on is, rather than splitting my time in a bunch of different areas, like giving back, working, making money, all that kind of thing, is to trying to like integrate everything. So everything's sort of supporting this same idea of helping myself, helping others. So that's my current path. May change at some point, maybe do something, purely altruistic, but that's what I've kind of settled on for now.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, good for you.
Yeah,
well, how can the audience, follow up on this episode, follow you, see your journey, learn from you, and possibly even become like a client or a customer at some point?
Yeah, sure. So the best way to sort of follow me, get in touch with me personally is really my Instagram. And so just go to Matt Clark TX. That's me on Instagram. So feel free to hit me up there. Follow me, obviously, but then feel free to send me a DM. Sometimes I get a little behind, as Josh has witnessed, but I do eventually get to all of them. So feel free to send me a DM. And also as far as our, if you want to learn anything else, I've got a bio link there, but you can also just check out amazing.com. I think there's a way for you to get on our email list. You can check out our products, and feel free to unsubscribe at any time. Like, we're in this for the long run. So if you don't like something we have to say, like, you can unsubscribe. But yeah, that's where we try to put in a lot of good work and creating products and solutions for people to start and grow e-commerce businesses. So either one of those.
Great. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate, the time, and this has been an incredible episode. And guys, I'm sure you've just experienced a ton of value from Matt and his experiences, and he's got lots of great experience in growing businesses. So definitely go follow him on Instagram. That's at Matt Clark TX, at Matt Clark TX. So definitely go to Instagram right away, pop out your phone, unless you're driving, then wait. And follow Matt so you can learn more from Matt and pick up some of his products. He's got an incredible coffee that you definitely want to check out, especially if you're a coffee drinker, and most of you are, because we all are. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Matt, for being on the show, man. This has been incredible. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I really appreciate it. So yeah, hopefully everyone got a lot of value out of this. I mean, at the end of the day, big thing that's kind of like
amazing.
Yeah. So the big thing, if I had to like leave anybody with anything, it's like, after all this sort of stuff, like banging my head against the wall, trying to be more successful, it's like, it's only settled on two things for me, is like, focus. Like, you can only do so much with so little time, and then keep going like long beyond when everyone else quits. I feel like if you do just those two things, all the rest of the details will fill them in, and you'll figure all this stuff out on your own. But hopefully we gave you a few shortcuts.
Yeah, no, it's very motivational, man. I'm sure that's going to impact a lot of people. Well, thank you again, man. It's been great. And, we'll definitely have to do some more work together in the future. And, this has been an incredible episode. So thank you so much for coming on the show and providing a lot of value to the audience.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, go follow Matt. Again, that's on Instagram at @MattClarkTX. Thanks again, Matt, for being on the show. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you. See ya.
Thank you for tuning into the e-commerce performance marketing show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment with a timestamp of your favorite part and share it with a friend. Until our next episode, here's to you and the success of your e-commerce